Right, people, we're back again. We are back for that 50% feature race. Let's get the stream links out there as per usual. Must admit, they've massively improved the soundtrack so far in this game. Put that in there. Bosh. Links are out. So get yourselves back involved in the chat. It'll be great to have you here. Keep that on there so we can keep an eye on what's going on, and then we'll be able to see exactly what we're lining up with this time round. So it was joy of joys in the McLaren garage for Blumcharm after round one, taking the victory from Sir Jake, getting a great result in the Williams. He got a blisteringly quick start. Unfortunately, just clipped Grimmy in the Ferrari, who'd put in a massive amount of effort in qualifying, but unfortunately just couldn't pull the recovery drive in the race following that lap one incident. Unfortunately, these things happen. It's turn one, lap one. I think just a bit unsighted. We've got four guys in the chat. Ping us a message. How are we all doing? Hope you all had a nice little break just then, just to try and get some fresh air, cool off a wee bit. It's a bit warm, isn't it? Still hot, still hot. What we rocking here right now? We're still rocking 25 at 10 o'clock. Spicy. So we just had the weather through. It's due to be a dry race, this 50%, so we're not going to see any wet weather. So it's almost like live weather in Britain right now. It's very dry, it's very hot. Might be too hot. But we are just waiting for these guys to sort their strategies out. 20 seconds until we see them on the grid. And we can run through the grid ordering for this 50% feature race. Of course, same point scoring from P1 to P15, just keeps the table that a little bit tighter and keeps the results that little bit less predictable. Means that people can't quite pull away as quickly in the league table. So, following that result, it's Grimmy that starts on pole from Connor in the Williams in second. Connor, who we know is renowned for making a great start. MC Smee lines up in his Alpha Tauri in P3. Mad Max starting P4, very similarly to the first race. Newcomer GRL, well anyway, in the second Alpha Tauri starts fifth. So we've got a nice lineup here for the Alpha Tauri boys. Drew Cam starting P6, Jimmer in 7th. 8th goes the way of Quick Killers. Sir Jake sits behind him in P9, and Blumcharm, obviously winning the first race, starts P10, just ahead of his teammate Dunners in 11th place, who looks to be starting on the soft tyre. RP Lai doing exactly the same as what he done in the first race, medium start. Will he go for a one-stop? We'll have to see what the strategy is going to call. He starts in P12. Ryan in the first of the Mercedes, P13. Mechanical, following a few spins in the first race, starts P14. The Hunter in P15. Just outside the points in the second Alpine, it's Era 6, who's actually made himself also put himself on a medium start strategy. So Grimmy is starting on the mediums as well. We see a lot of the guys will possibly go for the one stop, maybe medium to hard. It's a bit of unknown territory really at the minute. In fact, everyone, we've only got one soft tyre runner and one hard tyre runner, and they are the two McLarens opting for separate strategies. Most people look like they're going to be going for a medium hard, or so strategy, potentially trying that one-stop safety car depending. So we'll get all of this out of the way. We'll hit the spectator menu out of the way as they now head down the back straight towards Stowe Corner. And we will see them now come round and line up on the Hamilton straight, ready for the start of this feature race. Grimmy looking to get his car lined up on the grid nicely, just trying to get that last bit of warmth in the tyres as he heads down to find his grid spot. slowing down now. He's taken quite a straight line. Connor is quite far off to the right. He's looking to cover off. Look at that. So he's put his car at a slight angle. He's pointing just towards Grimmy. He's hoping to get that launch. You can see the difference in the angle there on the Williams. He's looking to cover off that start from Grimmy. A few of the guys obviously not picking up their grid spots well enough. That's why they're being disqualified from the session. So that will just restart them. But we will see exactly how this goes then. So the lights start coming on now. We have 5 lights. The lights go out and away they go then for the feature race. Connor doesn't get as much of a good start as he wants. In fact, he gets jumped by the AlphaTauri of MC Smee as they head down into Abbey. Running round turn 1. It looks like Grimmy's got the lead quite nicely from the AlphaTauri of MC Smee. He's got a great start. Connor just seemingly lit the wheels up. In fact, he's dropped like a stone. He's down to P5 already. So not a good start for him on those medium tyres. In fact, everyone around him was on medium tyres as well. So unfortunate for him, usually he does get off the line very well. Now they all head down towards Brooklands. Have we got any movement down the back of the field? We've got them running 3 wide down there. RP Lai, Dunners and Ryan look to all battle it out. Just off the back end, Ryan runs slightly wide on the exit of Luffield as they head down now towards Copse. So the predicted strategy, there you see it at the bottom of the screen, 1 stop, medium to hard. So we can expect these guys to be trying the 1 stop, maybe apart from Dunners, who's running the soft tyre. The only car on the grid to be running that soft tyre. So he'll jump into the pits early, but he'll have all the grip at the start. So let's have a little look and see exactly if he can make any moves. He's looking to try and get down the outside of RP Lai as they head down towards Stowe. Will he try and chuck it up the inside? We will see. He's going to have the pace advantage on the soft tyres. Looks like he's got the move done down towards Stowe Corner. So he'll want to make as many positions up as quickly as he can. Yellow flags there, sector 2 to 3. That's just a bunch up of cars all heading through as they now enter the slow section of Club down on to the Hamilton straight now for Dunners. So he's going to be chasing people down as quickly as he can and as eagerly as he can. He's going to have all that grip and hopefully enough heat in those tyres to see him through a few early positions. He might be thinking early safety car, I can get a free stop under that and make full use of the advantage I'm going to pull on these soft tyres. Right, let's have a little, now we should be able to, there we go, we can do this now. We can actually cut straight back to the leader nice and smoothly without having to skip through the entire field. So we can do that as it happens. We've got some moves going on further back. It looks like we've still got that battle ensuing between RP Lai and Dunners now as they head down to Copse for the second time. It's RP Lai up the inside, so he's got that position back on the medium tyres. He must have got a great run out of Luffield through Brooklands, and it's Dunners then trying to worm his way back past. The first penalty goes in, and that's a 3-second time penalty for Connor for track limits, multiple warnings. But meanwhile, we've got this battle here between the McLaren of Dunners and RP Lai in the Alpine really, really hotting up. We've got enough pace there. He's picking up the slipstream, but RP Lai is going to make him go all the way around the outside at Stowe Corner. He's not going to quite have it enough to do it, is he? They're side by side. Dunners is just alongside as they head down towards Club, but he has to back out, not quite enough room. And there we see the first DNF of the session. So that's Connor out of the race. We don't quite know what's happened there. It's a pit lane retirement by the look of that. So we will we'll jump back to the battle between Dunners and RP Lai. Looks like Connor's had an issue and therefore retired in pit lane, as is required by the drivers. If you're making the choice to retire, we do ask you to retire in the pit lane. It just saves any safety car nonsense. So up ahead we've got MC Smee just losing out there to Jimmer. We'll have a quick, we'll jump back up and see exactly what's going on there. But there we see MC Smee's AlphaTauri has just been turned on the entry to Brooklands, I think. So he's dropping down the order, which is now spaced out the front runners. Sir Jake now within a second of Max, just on that cusp, but he's got quick killers for company. So we'll just jump up there and have a little look and see exactly what's going on there. As you can see, quick killers all over the back of that Williams and Sir Jake as they head through Maggots and Beckett's down towards the hangar straight. Of course, DRS now active on lap 3, so we can see the additional power there being used, that extra downforce it's going to give that Haas. Just can't quite close enough onto the back of Sir Jake. So Sir Jake holds on to that position now for the meantime. We'll ride on board with this battle as it is one of the closest we've got on circuit at the minute. In fact, we've got MC Smee just further back on Drew Cam in the Alfa Romeo by the look of it. It's 4 tenths just separating those boys. But Quick Killer's just trying to break the toe because he's also aware that he's got RP Live sitting just 3 tenths behind him. So this is quite a close battle pack. And of course, that's dragging Dunners along as well on those soft tyres. Let's hop back on board then with Quick Killers and see if he's close enough. I don't think he's going to be close enough this time round, but he's going to be aiming to close onto the back of Sir Jake and try and stick with him. But it seems like Sir Jake's actually caught the back end of Max, so we will have ourselves a little bit of a DRS train. Let's jump forward and just see what's going on up here, because it looks like these guys are all going to get DRS. This could mean real bad news for poor Max, who's currently running in P3 in his house, because he is 2.2 seconds off of the gearbox of Jimmer's Red Bull. So really for him, he is going to be the stop in the bottle, as it were, as they now head down into the final DRS zone, the hangar straight, the infamous hangar straight, where, to be fair, it's probably one of the easier places to tee up a move. The Hunter picked up a 3-second penalty as well, so he's now the only driver on circuit with a penalty at the minute. I'm sure we will see more as the race continues, but Sir Jake not quite close enough to the back of Max to make that move yet, so Max hangs on for another lap, and it'll all be about consistency. Obviously, as we've seen so far, it's it's been quite showing at how these cars deal with obviously the bigger rims and the ability to not warm up tyres as quickly and keep heat in the tyres as easily. Obviously, yes, they're better at following, but you could instantly lose that grip, and it's so hard to catch these when they do slip. It's so difficult to catch them as opposed to how it was in F1 2020 and 21. So looking off the rear then of Dunner's McLaren, we've got Drew Cam now being drawn into this battle pack, and he's also bringing MC Smee and I would assume Blumchum as well. Blumchum sitting there in P10, exactly where he started. So Dunners has been allowed to make the moves as part of the McLaren team. Obviously, he's on a different strategy to Blum, so as we said before, he's going to try and make as many positions up as he can. In fact, let's have a little look then at the position changes. He's made up 4 positions. RP Lie's made up 6, so he's followed RP Lie up through the pack. And that's obviously what he's going to want from that strategy. But it just seems like even with the soft tyre advantage, he doesn't quite have the pace. You can see how low that Alpine is sitting to the floor. The skid pan rubbing its way down through Stowe Corner, now down into Club Sector 3 towards the Hamilton Straight. We can see a battle going on just up ahead. We've got Sir Jake and Quick Killers now really having a ding-dong. This is going to help Max out massively if Quick Killers can hold off Sir Jake, who just picks himself up a time penalty for running that corner a bit too much. The Williams looking very racy on the rear end of the Haas. Can Quick Killers hold him off? He's now without DRS on his teammate. So now we'll head down the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands for the 6th time this race. We essentially thought we were going to see a move there. I thought we were going to see a little bit of a gap closing up, but we've not seen that as of yet. So we will wait now as they head down towards Cops once more. Grimmy looks to have held out a really nice lead here. He's got this all under control at the front. In fact, you can see just how much road that Ferrari has got. Looking off the rear end, no one following him, so he's aiming to get himself a nice tasty free stop, or as free as he can be. Jimmer, the closest man to him, running in P2. Once again, nice big gap. It's a very lonely race for that Red Bull. But further back, we have Sir Jake, who once again couldn't get the move done on Quick Killer. So that Haas has still got the straight line speed, it would seem, to keep that Williams at bay. First pit stop then, as expected, is Dunners in the McLaren, the soft tyre runner. So he will now drop back down the order, and we'll actually see how beneficial that soft tyre run has been if we don't see a safety car, and later on he goes to make potentially his second stop. So we'll see exactly what he's gone on. He's gone on to the medium compound tyre. He's got to try and make it last 19 laps if he's going to do a one stop. So they're going to be absolutely knackered by the end, but we shall see, because it may well be that he comes out on top. So your previous race winner then is running the hard tyre. And this is the other McLaren strategy, is the hard tyre compound. So we'll have a little look then at the ages of these. So it's obviously 6 laps sold, along with everyone else on the medium tyre. I'd expect these guys on the mediums to pit maybe around lap, if you're going to go onto the hards, maybe lap 10, lap 12, something like that. Depends on how good you are really at making them last, especially on this new game. Once again, we're a bit uncertain. Looks like we've got a yellow flag, sector 3, final club section. Looks like we've got Mercedes in jeopardy back there. That's going to be Ryan, whose 4-lap-old hards may just be struggling to take the heat, but Blumchum looks to be keeping pace quite nicely as we ride on board with these hard tyres. As he chases down the AlphaTauri of MC Smee, he now decides to pit, so he's in the pit lane. Now, could this be a potential 2-stop strategy? We're going to talk about strategies for just a minute, because this is where it's going to get interesting now, as we see some people starting to make their stops. So we'll ride on board with Smee whilst he makes this stop. We'll see what tyres the AlphaTauri team decide to put on that machine. It looks like it's the hard tyres, so he'll be looking to go to the end. Meanwhile, everyone else staying out on their current first set of tyres. So we've had 2 stops so far. That's 3 stops, I should say. That's MC Smee, Ryan, and Dunners. Dunners currently now running in P13, just behind Smee as it happens. So we'll jump on board with that as Dunners actually gets ahead just as we see that. And there's the telltale of trying to get the heat into these tyres. You can see just how much grip you lose on those cold hard tyres. It's just difficult to get that power down. So we'll leave Smee to warm his tyres up, and we'll see how well they come in later on in the race. Meanwhile, we've still got this battle going on ahead. It looks like Quick Killers has in fact caught up to the rear end of his teammate Max, so he's able to now capitalise on that DRS. Who's going to be the first of these two boys to pit, because obviously they can't go in at the same time. They're both staying out now for this lap. We're going to try and do an extended stint on these mediums and try and keep up with everyone else in regards to that. We see RP Lai, the first of the Alpines, jump into the pit lane. So RP Lai making his stop now. Remember, everyone else was on the mediums. It was the McLarens that were the only two trying different stop strategies. So that'll be very interesting to see how that works out later on in the race. But these two Haas boys seem to be working quite well as a team. They won't want to battle. They won't want to hold each other up, because you've got to remember they've got the Williams of Sir Jake, who seems to have dropped back somewhat from the rear end of them. Further back down the order, then we have Drew Cam in the Alfa Romeo being closed by Blum, who is, of course, on his original set of hard tyres, and Drew is actually on his original set of mediums. So this could be a turning point in the race where we see those medium tyres starting to just drop off ever so slightly, just drop off the pace a little bit. So expect to see some of those guys coming in the next 2 to 3 laps. But it won't be this lap necessarily for some of them. Obviously, we can see a couple of the Haas boys are running super close together, so the pair of them will not necessarily be coming in this lap. One of them may, just to allow the other a chance to get round in the next lap if they feel that pace is dropping off. But we'll take the stops, we'll take the position changes all off the screen there, just to try and give ourselves a little bit of a clearer view of exactly what's going on. But it must be said that Blumchum is holding on to those hard tyres extremely well at the minute. That McLaren looks very comfortable carrying that, so he's got a real good setup there. It looks nice, it looks tight, it looks very, very well driven around those corners on the hard compound tyre, which is where we see a lot of the guys struggle. But obviously, if you can get the heat in, obviously the first couple of laps may be that tiny bit slower. Therefore, it's easier to keep up with the pack. But here we go. We can ride on board now, and we see the move down the inside at Brooklands. He's got the move done. There's a little bit of contact as he comes across in front of the Alfa Romeo. Maybe just a little bit of misjudgment there. It runs out at Lovefields. Just tries to get the power down. Remember, these hard tyres are now going to be in the perfect window. So he could carry these on. And he's got a nice, clear bit of road up ahead of him. But we'll stick on board because I can fully expect Drew to possibly hold through Maggots and Beckett's on those medium compound tyres and just see if he can have a little bite back down the hangar straight in the final DRS zone into Sector 3. RP Live, meanwhile, picking up a 3-second time penalty. Here we go then. So let's ride on board with Drew Cam. Look at the pace advantage he's going to have there. That just shows with the DRS and the softer compound of tyre, he's got that position back. So the pair of them, by battling, may well slow each other down somewhat, but we have ourselves a little bit of a battle on our hands as Blum just runs slightly wide there out of club corner. Let's have ourselves a little bit of explore a little bit further up the pack then, shall we? Because it looks to me, if I'm reading this correctly, looks to me like Quick Killers has passed Sir Max and is now chasing down that Red Bull of Jimmer, who himself had quite a gap behind him. The gap to Grimmy hasn't changed massively, but his gap behind to Quick Killers has dramatically closed. So these Haas boys are really on a push now to put the pressure on. Jimmer and Grimmy, both of them have had a chance now to look after their tyres. So I fully expect these guys to have a decent amount of life left in those medium tyres. So these guys behind in the Haas that are pushing may struggle when they come up behind. But look at the gap closing now. We're within 1.1 seconds, 1.2 seconds as it goes up slightly on the exit there down the hangar straight. So no DRS this time round, but expect him to maybe catch up with the rear end of Jimmer if he doesn't come into the pits now. Neither of them do. So they're both staying out. Those medium tyres then going to be coming towards the end of their life. Sir Jake dives into the pits. He's maybe looking to get the undercut on this battle. My theory on that would be that these guys, if they do get a bit involved, they do get a bit feisty with each other. You're going into the pit lane just under a second behind them. There's always that potential they could slow themselves down, and you could get that undercut done here at Silverstone, because that is quite a favourite for the old undercut here. So within that second realm, I think you're probably pretty good, dependent on your pace of warming up the tyres when you come out and you leave the pits, and traffic dependent as well. So we'll stick on board with this at the minute. Quick Killers now within DRS range, just on the cusp of, just on that second barrier. It will all depend on the exit out of Cobbs, just to see if he can keep that power down there. He has done. Can he keep it fairly flat through Maggots and Beckett's? How much curb does he dare take on these tyres, and how much grip has he got in them? Because it looks to me like he's closing. Looks to me like he's closed almost enough, but not quite enough to activate. In fact, he has closed enough to activate DRS. So DRS wing is now open. Jimmer in risk here, as Quick Killers has his teammate behind him, so he's not got to worry about anyone to defend from, as they both now dive into pits. This battle will recommence. Interesting things have happened there in the pit entry, so not quite sure what's happened there. That looked very glitchy indeed. Interesting, to say the least. So we've got everyone slowing down now then, because that will be a safety car. Jimmer gets his pit stop done. Max heads on through. We've got yellow flag sector 1, 2 and 3, so we've got full course caution. But we've not got anything. So it looks like we have, yes, we have got the safety car out on circuit, which we will see in just a second. So Quick Killers, unfortunately, the second DNF from this as Mad Max passes the safety car. Now we will see some pit stops being made. So Dunners dives into the pit stop. He's not going to be... Lumchum takes a penalty, unfortunately, for a collision with Drew Cam. So an interesting moment there. We'll to see what's going on. But these guys now running round sector 2. So we're just going to wait. We're going to see what happens in the pit stops. Looks like Grimmy's going to be coming round first. He'll most definitely dive into the pits. What does he do? Because he can't sing on another set of mediums. I don't think softs are going to last to the end. So chances are we're going to see him jump onto the hard tyre. Done as we just saw in the pits. Now he started on the soft tyre. So he could in fact go onto the medium. No, he's gone onto the hard instead. So didn't fancy running that medium tyre for 13 laps. He's on some fresh hards. So Grimmy then into the pit lane. Expect him to be followed by Max, who is indeed coming into the pit lane. Drew also coming in, and GRL well anyway. So you expect these top 6 drivers now to pit. This is where the immersive pit stop may well come into action. So Grimmy going onto the soft tyre. Interesting choice. Will he be able to make that last? He's expecting a few laps under the safety car. Obviously, whilst the pack bunches up, you'll get a few free laps. So Mad Max comes in. He's out. Jimmer jumps ahead of Max, having pit on the previous lap. So Max now running P3. Drew Cam, GRL well anyway, and Mechanical all keeping their same positions. Blumchum chucks on the medium tyre, so he will have the grip. Of course, he started on the hard tyre, ran them for 14 laps. Now he will run the medium tyre to the end. Looks like Sir Jake, in fact, looks like he's having to serve his penalty in the pit lane as well. So he's dropped a few places. But remember the grip advantage. And we've got a couple of the guys sticking out who have already pitted just a few laps ago. That's Sir Jake and RP Lai. RP Lai on 5-lap-old hard tyres, so he's opting to keep them on. Of course, we've seen the issues with heat retention in the hard tyre. We've seen how difficult it is to get the heat in there initially. So he's not opting to change. He's hoping that potentially the guys who are who've just put on the hards will be struggling anyway. So he will not necessarily feel at a disadvantage on the restart. The only disadvantage he will have, of course, is that Blumchum will be right on his gearbox on those fresh medium tyres. The decision that is interesting, that we will flick up towards the front of, is this one. So Grimmy then on the rear of the safety car. He's now caught the safety car as we wait for the rest of the pack to catch up on the soft tyre. So of course, geared towards the restart, we can fully expect that Ferrari to be like a rat up a drain pipe. He'll be gone, theoretically, on that soft compound of tyre. But we saw in the opening stage of this race, we saw one car, and that was Dunners in the McLaren, start on the soft compound tyre, and he took them about 7 to 8 laps. Of course, we've got longer than that distance to run. Is he hoping get a few free laps, get a bit of a lead, and then look after the tyres and try and take them to the end? We shall see. I can only assume that is what the plan is, and if so, it's a good plan. But I'm just not convinced that they will be feeling overly brilliant by the end of this race. Of course, he is the leader. He's now made his stop. Started on the medium compound, didn't opt for the hards. I assume maybe in his position you possibly think that everyone else is going to be opting for the hards as well, but it's a difficult decision when you're the first man into the, or you're the leader in the pit lane, because you don't quite know whether it's a good idea or not to jump yourself onto a harder compound tyre and take that risk that someone behind you wouldn't then go onto the mediums. Right then, so we still have full yellows. I still have no idea on when the safety car's coming in. The back of the pack is being caught up now by Era 6 and Ryan, so we can fully expect potentially the end of this lap we may well see the safety car come in. The tyre information is, as you see on the screen there, all hard runners following Grimmy down to P9, which is Blumchum, who's on the medium tyre. The top 6 drivers are yet to get a penalty, so I think we're about to see some quite tasty racing. Everyone's made their stops. Dunners has now made 2 stops, but sits in P12, and now on the hard tyre. So really and truly, potentially that soft tyre start wasn't the advantage he was hoping. We've got 13 people on the chat. Come on, get involved, people. What are your predictions for this race? Race controller said safety car is in this lap, so Grimmy will of course start bunching the pack up. Let's get some predictions in for the final half of this race. We are about to go racing once more here in Silverstone for the feature race of round 1, season 5 LNR. The safety car of Bert Mylander pulls his way into the pit lane. Of course, now is the moment that Grimmy needs to choose when he's gonna plant his right foot to the floor. Rio says Jimmer wins. Bold prediction. He's got to get through that hard tyre warm-up phase. But here we go then. Grimmy now gets this race back underway. We are racing once more here at Silverstone as they head now down through Abbey and up through Farm Corner. Grimmy maintaining that lead, maintaining a 6/10 gap. So he's caught Jimmer napping ever so slightly. In fact, the front two have caught Max napping because Max not able to necessarily get the power down there like he would have liked to. He's had to keep an eye behind him. We have movement further down the field. So Jake and Mechanical having a little bit of a ding-dong. We'll jump to that in just a second. But Grimmy, with that soft tyre advantage, getting the additional little bit of pace there. And obviously, of course, he'll have the grip here round Luffield and carry the pack down towards Copse. So let's get back through the pack then. Let's have a little look further down the order. What have we got happening? We've got some battling going on here between Sir Jake and Mechanical as they exit Copse. So Sir Jake in the Williams on the back of Mechanical. He has, of course, got a penalty, remember, so he'll be looking to make some progress. All these drivers now on the hard tyre. The Hunter picking up another penalty there. And of course, the one that we are interested to see at this point, we just skip back towards the back here, is Blumchum. The winner from race 1 now running P9. He has got a penalty, but he's on that medium compound of tyre. So Rio saying here, Grimmy will lead till the soft start to die down. Jimmer had the safety car lap to somewhat warm those tyres. Very good point, very good point. And that's obviously what we were discussing during that safety car period, is how long will those soft tyres last on that Ferrari? Will he be able to get himself enough of a gap? Of course, if you're Jimmy, you sort of just want to sit there, put the pressure on, and just allow him to wear those soft tyres down a little bit prematurely. But obviously, if you're Grimmy, you want to be trying to sustain a lead, get out of DRS range, and then try and look after your tyres. So it'll be, I think we'll start seeing a change come lap 24. I think that's when we want to be sort of focusing on that battle. If it's just as close coming into sort of that 23, lap 24 is where we could start seeing some serious pace changes. Anyway, Blumchum then not able to yet get the move done on RP line. In fact, here we go. He's looking to make the move up the inside of Copse. They run side by side and they go through Copse corner. Blumchum trying to hold that McLaren. He gets it up the inside, and yes, you can run 2x2. That is exactly what we wanted to see tonight. We said that to Max in qualifying earlier on. Will we see anyone run 2x2? Max said he ain't going to do it. But there we go. The McLaren of Blumchum just picking up the position there on RP line, running through Copse corner side by side, the two of them. And MC Smee just behind, newcomer to this league, having a fantastic run here, looking to try and chuck it up the inside at Stowe. Has to back out. Not quite the gap he would have wanted closing there. He saw the door just closing off and thought he'd better just take it easy and try again next lap. So DRS now reactivated for this lap. Grimmy finds himself 1.7 seconds to the good. We'll jump back to that battle a little bit later on. Meanwhile, MC Smee's teammate, well anyway, up in P5, now chasing down the Alfa Romeo of Drew. Will he be able to get these short shifts in to get the traction down on those hard tyres? Yes, he can. The DRS wing is open. He's got no one really competing behind him to defend from, so he can go full attack to the back of that Alfa Romeo. Got another message here, but whatever outcome, seems like a good race. If Grimmy saves those tyres to the last lap, great race by him. Oh, of course, you can't take anything away from that. If these guys make these tyres work, if they make the strategy calls right, sometimes you do have to be a little bit risky. It's the aim of the game. You know, if you don't try these things, you don't know. Obviously, we've got quite a level playing field here with the mid-pack behind on the hard tyres, but it gives us a little bit of a talking point. These tyres could be quite a call of genius, or it could be quite a shout of controversy. So we'll see how that pans out a little bit later on in the race. We'll have to hang on for that. It means you're going to have to stay tuned into the stream to find out exactly what happens towards the end of this race. We'll jump back to that battle a little bit later on. Well, anyway, then, is sitting comfortably just in on the gearbox of this Alfa Romeo, who's seemingly just caught up to the rear end of the Haas of Max, who we saw just struggling towards the tail end of the 25%er last time out. He's currently running P3, so he'll be hoping to get himself on that podium. Jimmer and Grimmy both taken off just ahead, so Max, unfortunately, a little bit of a sitting duck in the DRS zones at the minute from the Alfa Romeo that's prowling around behind him. Of course, no tyre advantage there for either of those guys. But we will see exactly how this battle pans out. Can Max's setup give him that straight line pace in the Haas? We saw his teammate Quick Killers earlier on in the race had some great straight line speed, and Max was actually clinging to the back of him, and the pair of them working in tandem with the DRS to actually help each other. But we will see the other strategy call that could well have just fallen to pieces, unfortunately for him, is Dunners here, who now finds himself running P11. He's on the hard compound tyre. He starts on the soft, went to the medium, but you can see there he's just struggling on corner exits. Can't obviously put the power down as early as he would like, potentially, just to keep onto the back of MC Smee's Alpha Tauri. Of course, last time out we saw MC Smee trying to make the move then down towards Stowe Corner. He's got some serious straight line pace in that Alpha Tauri as he catches the rear end of RP Lai. Not going to have enough to make the move, has to just dip off the rear end, but he's going to carry some great pace through Stowe. Is he going to look to chuck it up the outside as they head down towards Club? Yes, he is, but he's not going to have enough to do it. Chucking it up the inside, has to go off circuit ever so slightly. Just loses a little bit of momentum, but there you can see right on his tail is Dunners, who has capitalised on the exit as they now head down the Hamilton straight towards Abbey. Will Dunners be able to get ahead? Yes, he can. Can he hold on to it? That's the next question. MC Smee is going to have the inside line, has to back out. Dunners holds it, last of the late breakers, and gets that position. So into the top 10 then is Dunners, up into P9. So we've got Rio again here saying, great casting by the way, I just got into F1 about a year and a half ago, and you're one of the better casters I've seen, heard besides these. Oh, thank you very much, I really appreciate that. Do try. I've been out of practice for a little while, so hopefully these streams will get better as the season goes on. It's great to see we've got so many of you guys in the chat with us and watching the stream. It's great to have you all here. Unfortunately, next week I'm not available, so I won't be here next week, but I will catch up with you guys for round 3, which I believe is Monaco, so we should have a great night, I'm sure. But anyway, the focus still is here in Silverstone for round 1. As it stands, we have Grimmy just holding on to a 2-second lead up ahead. So these soft tyres looking like they're holding out quite well. Let's just ride on board with him for a couple of minutes. In fact, we've got movement back down the field with Mechanical. Max has dropped down the order, so we've had an issue there once again with the Haas. Looks like he could have just lost grip somewhere and had a bit of a turn, but it's Mechanical. He finds himself now sitting on the podium, 5 seconds off the rear end of the Red Bull of Jimmer. So he will now be the cork in the bottle somewhat, and the sitting duck on the straights, because you've got the Alpha Tauri of GRL Well Anyway sitting right behind the Alfa Romeo. Now these guys all running really, really close together. This is excellent to see that we've got such a tight battle pack. Sector 1, yellow flags. That seems to be the Mercedes of Ryan. He's had a bit of a catastrophic day, unfortunately for him. Usually we are used to seeing him running quite far up the field, so just not his day today. Maybe it takes a little bit of a... Just one of those days. Just one of those days. Bit hot, isn't it? It's a bit hot. That's what I'll be blaming it on. It's a little bit too hot. Anyway, Well, anyway, is on the back of Mechanical, still clinging to the rear end, as we see Jimmer now picks up a 3-second penalty, so that could come into the equation towards the end of the race. Once again, we'll pick up the penalties later on. We don't want to worry about them too much in the here and now. They will come into play in the dying laps of this race. Sector 2 and 3, we've had an issue. That's a Haas. Is that Max? Yes, that's Max. Unfortunately, he's had an issue. We won't jump down there because we can see he's had an issue through Maggots and Beckett's on the mini-map on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. We'll stick with this battle here, as you can see just how close, well anyway, he's getting to the rear end of that Alfa Romeo. He, of course, has Sir Jake biting all over the back of his gearbox as the pair of them now run down the Hamilton straight towards Abbey and up to field as they go into lap 22 of 26 here. All of them running as one, and that's Max DNFing. He has decided he's going to pull into the pits. That's his race over. He's probably picked up a fair amount of damage. I would assume maybe he's come into contact with a wall there. Somewhere on the line, he's had an issue. Max, if you're about, just get in touch in the chat and let us know what's happened there, buddy. But it seems like we have Max out, MC Smee in the pits, so potentially involved in an issue there as well. But another message here, Jimmer getting that penalty hurts. It does. It does. It's going to make for an interesting end, because to be fair, Jimmer has held on to the rear end of Grimmy quite well throughout this race. He's held within a 2-second gap of those soft tyres, so we're still yet to see if Grimmy can keep that pace on the soft tyres or whether he's going to get caught out by a loss of grip towards the end of this race. ERS active for Jimmer. Let's take a little look on the telemetry then. Not much ERS left for him, so obviously he will now need to potentially do a couple of charging laps just to try and build that battery pack power up, so that as soon as he catches the rear end of Grimmy, he's got something to attack with. Oh, and we've got the move. We've got the move done in the background there. Well, anyway, has now got ahead of Mechanical and found himself on the podium in his debut appearance here for LNR. That Alpha Tauri, one of the best looking cars on the grid, in my opinion, for 2022. Absolutely love the look of the Alpha Tauri. They really know how to do a livery. But anyway, he's managed to find himself sitting in P3. Mechanical now not quite in a position there where he can fight back yet. He's going to have to hope for some good corner exits and just get the power down quite nicely. He's going to have DRS this time round, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. 7/10 down the Hangar straight, or down the Wellington straight, isn't quite close enough normally. So we will let that battle continue. But anyway, we were just chatting. Here are the two leaders. We were just chatting about Jimmer. In fact, keeping that gap, keeping that distance quite nicely on the hard tyres. So he's balanced that race well. Looking ahead, Grimmy though, 68% left on the ERS. So he's going to have something to defend with. Even if his tyres start losing grip towards the end of this race, looking at that ERS, he's pumping it out now, down the Hangar straight, just to try and keep that pace advantage. And we've got GRL, well anyway, dropping back down the order like a stone. He's had a bit of a spin on the exit of Beckett's, and that is a shame. He was up into the podium positions. Following that, he's had a spin, which has now dropped him down to P9, which is a real shame. But we were just talking about Grimmy's ERS usage, so he's obviously saved enough, expecting if his tyres do go off, that he can really have himself a decent battle there towards the end of this race. So we'll disappear that telemetry and we'll just focus on the racing at hand now as we enter lap 24. This is the lap in which we expect that we may lose a little bit of grip on those soft tyres. So we will see if that gap does start to come down. It's held nicely at about 2 seconds since the safety car restart. So we'll leave that as is, and obviously we've got to remember that Jimmer now has a penalty. So I don't think that's going to drop him any positions, because if you look on the screen there, Sir Jake just behind has also got a penalty. MC Smee banging a fast lap. We saw him in the pits a couple of laps ago, so he must have chucked on a set of soft tyres. Meanwhile, we've got Blumchum running P10 just on the rear end of the Hunter, so we're going to jump back and see if there is a battle indeed going on here. We ride on board now with the Hunter in the second of the Red Bulls, so the boys of the Red Bulls, they're picking up some decent points in this round. Along with the Alfa Romeo guys running P4 and P5. We saw in the first race, we saw the Haas guys looking to pick up some good points. Unfortunately for them, their race in this 50% feature has just turned to a tragic end with both cars unable to finish it. But we enter the back straight, the hangar straight here, and we see Blumchum looking to make the move around the outside of that Red Bull, and he does indeed get that done. Obviously, the medium tyre compound coming into its own, but Blumchum, unfortunately, only one place up from where he started on the grid, so not the drive that he may have looked for, but it's a solid points haul nonetheless following his round one victory. So the move there is done. Next up, we see Blumchum's teammate Dullers then on these hard tyres once again. Everyone running the hard tyres, it would seem at the minute. Now chasing down Drew Cam. He's currently sitting P5. Drew just trying to break that toe because he knows up ahead is a big load of space. No DRS for him at this point in the race. Grimmy then, we now see, here we go. We're going to jump up to the front because we can see that gap has now come down to just on the second marker. So we will jump on board with Jimmer, and we will see exactly what occurs in what will be the final lap as they head through Maggots and Beckett's and down the hangar straight for the penultimate time this evening. Can Jimmer get himself within DRS distance? He's going to want to get himself within DRS into the as they go through sector 1, of course, because he's going to want to use the first DRS zone to just get that little bit of closure onto the gearbox of the Ferrari to really pile the pressure on. That will then amount to us finding out exactly how much grip that Ferrari's got as it comes through Maggots and Beckett's, because obviously it's a very, very stressful, it's the highest stresses on the tyres as you're chucking it left to right there through Maggots and Beckett's. So that will be the point in which if Jimmer can hang on to the rear end of Grimmy through there, we could see a change for the lead. So no DRS zone then down the Wellington straight, unfortunately for the Red Bull. So it looks like at the minute Grimmy could well have this in the bag. I'll keep an eye on the left-hand side of the screen in case there's any moves, but obviously this is where the race is going to boil down to. We're now on the final lap here in Silverstone for round one. Jimmer now sitting 6/10 off the back of that Ferrari. Let's see as he gets ever closer to the back of Grimmy's Ferrari, how flat can the pair of them keep it through Copse? They go for the final time. It's going to boil down to this moment. Maggots and Beckett's. Grimmy then using all the curb. He's got the ERS. We saw this earlier on. He's been pounding it down the hangar straight. Will he be able to hang on to this lead? It does look that way because 8/10 back is a long way, especially with the hard tyre for Jimmer. Of course, he's got the 3-second penalty, but we all wanted to see that little battle at the end. But unfortunately for Jimmer, it doesn't look like it's going to be a thing. For Grimmy, though, tribulations after his first race incident at turn 1. He comes round the final club corner onto the Hamilton straight to take the victory here in round 1 feature race at Silverstone for LNR Season 5. Jimmer crosses the line in P2 and will hold P2. So the pair of them having a great race. Drew jumps up onto the podium P3 following Sir Jake's penalties, and Dunners finishes P4. P5 goes the way of RP Lai in the Alpine. He's had himself a little bit of a quiet race. He's kept his head down and he's got on with it, but he's up to P5 and well anyway manages to finish P6 from that potential podium position. Expect to see a little bit more from him throughout the season because he's looked pretty tasty tonight. Mechanical finishes in P7. P8 goes the way of Sir Jake following all those penalties, and P9 we see the McLaren of Blumchum. The Hunter then rounding out your top 10. Great race for Grimmy. Yeah, the strategy, of course, the strategy paying off for Grimmy. The soft tyre strategy really working well. Dunners then getting driver of the day, and in fact having an excellent race from a point after the safety car restart where it didn't look like there was much going to happen. He capitalised on a lot that we didn't really see. It just sort of came out of nowhere. He kept it clean, he kept it stable through there. So Dunners making up a lot of ground following the safety car restart. But it's Grimmy who takes first place here in Silverstone, lifting the trophy on the top step of that podium. So it's a Ferrari, a Red Bull and an Alfa Romeo you see on the podium for the first feature race here in Season 5. Grimmy taking P1, Jimmer in second place and Drew Cam joining them on the third step of the podium. Dunners takes P4, RP Lai in P5 and 6th goes the way of Well Anyway. 7th goes to Mechanical in the second of the Alfa Romeo All-in Racings and 8th the way of Sir Jake, having picked up 9 seconds worth of penalty. So unfortunate for him that he couldn't get the drive that he wanted towards the end there. He's looked quite quick this evening, so expect more from him as well throughout the season. Blumchum picking up P9 and the Hunter rounding out the top 10. MC Smee takes P11, Era 6 taking 12th and Ryan finishing his race in 13th place. Following that, we had the DNFs of Mad Max, Quick Killers, and Connor. Remember, of course, please do give us a like, drop a subscribe, and hit the bell button for whenever we're live. We will be live again, hopefully not next week, the week after. I'm unable to make next week, but I will give you a rundown of the race. Obviously, we'll find out exactly what happens next week in round 2. But thank you ever so much for joining us, ladies and gents. It's been a pleasure. And we'll catch you again real soon. Take care all. Enjoy the heat. Enjoy the sun. Catch you soon.